Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to you all. It's good to see you here today. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Victoria Online. For those of you who might be here for the first time and are not familiar with our center, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. And my name is Carrie Hunter, and I'm the Spiritual Director of the CSL Victoria. So welcome, and trust that you'll enjoy your morning here with us. And we invite you to tune in every week at this time. Those of you who have been here the last couple of weeks know that I'm on a different theme this month. I'm actually using Jean Houston's wonderful book, The Wizard of Us. And last week I was talking about being the wizard. But this week I'm going to take us on a journey down the yellow brick road. And just what is the spiritual meaning of that yellow brick road? What is the metaphysical meaning of it all? How can we interpret that in our lives? I'm sure that almost everyone has seen the movie and perhaps read the book as well. The movie seems to be on television a lot in the last few years, and children are waking up to it again, not necessarily understanding what it's all about. But we can go to a deeper place with this, and that's really what I'm wanting us to do as I talk about this today. You know, everything in our lives just seems so different right now as we're living during this pandemic that has struck the entire world. And so it's important for us to think about the context of this, and we can find a lot of this context in stories like The Wizard of Oz. And if you think about it, Dorothy got to Kansas. She didn't get to Kansas. She left Kansas by means of a tornado that took her on a whirling journey, her entire house, up into Oz. Now, this was a dream that she was having. She'd been knocked unconscious because of the tornado that had struck her home. But this dream world that she went into was something that many of us might long to go through in our lives. We're looking for something better. We want something better. And remember early on in the movie, Dorothy sang "Over the Rainbow." Birds fly over the rainbow. Why then, or why can't I? Why can't we fly over the rainbow? Why can't we have all of our dreams come true? So Dorothy was, when she was in Kansas still, and living in a lot of fear because of the nasty Miss Gulch who wanted to take little Toto, her dog, and have him destroyed. She was in a place where she felt powerless. She felt that she really couldn't do anything to help herself or to help Toto. And so she had to run away. And of course, that didn't get her anywhere. She went back home again because a fortune teller she met said that Auntie Em was sick. But when she got back, of course, the storm hit, and everything in her life was transformed at that time. And so she went to Oz, and as I'm thinking about that right now, as I'm thinking about the tornado, it's kind of like we're living in twister times, in tornado times. We feel like we're whirling around, things are in chaos. We just don't know what's going to happen in the future. We're looking for a brighter future. We're trusting that people in government and in healthcare are going to be giving us the information that we need to be in a place of trust, in a place where we can go back to some semblance of normal or whatever the new normal is going to be. And we keep hearing a lot about that these days. So it's kind of like we're being propelled by some kind of a storm. And what we need to do is to think about what we would like that dream to be for us. What is our over the rainbow? What does that journey look like? Dorothy arrives in Oz, and she looks around and she says to Toto, her little dog, we're not in Kansas anymore. And I hear that expression fairly frequently. And right now it is just so appropriate for the times in which we're living. Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. This is not what normal has looked like for us for a very long time. And so if we're landing in Oz like Dorothy landed in Oz, what are we thinking? What is happening to us? Um, are we creating emotional twisters for ourselves during this time? People are worried about their finances. They're worried about having enough food. They're worried about toilet tissue. Um, worried about having the supplies that we just took for granted for a long, long time. They're worried about not having jobs. They're worried about getting back to work. Those are the twisters, the mind twists that are going on. And those are the things that we need to overcome. We need to be able to get to an inner space of calm, a place of peace, a place where we can trust that our lives are going to be really, really good as we go forward. And what we need to understand is that we are creating our lives, our future lives, right now with our thoughts. So are our thoughts negative or are our thoughts positive? Are we thinking about over the rainbow and how wonderful it will be, how beautiful our lives will be, how meaningful our work will be? I don't know about you, but as I'm going through this experience, I am appreciating everything in my life so much more. I'm finding more beauty in everything every day and finding it's much easier to be content because I have more time to think about these things. I have more time to retrain my thoughts. And so as we approach the yellow brick road, it's a time. It's really a time for that retraining. It's a time for a deepening of our spiritual selves. The yellow brick road, as the Buddha would say, is the golden road to enlightenment, or the golden path to enlightenment. And so it's an inner journey. And as much as we are concerned about the outer world right now and what our outer worlds look like, we need to really be paying attention to our inner worlds, to that inner journey. We're kind of in survival mode. I think everybody's feeling that way. This is survival mode right now. And when Dorothy was in Kansas, she was in survival mode. She was in that kind of gray world. If you remember the movie, it started out in black and white and didn't turn into Technicolor until she landed in Oz. So we're in that black and white world, in survival, just wanting to survive this time, to make our way through it, to get back to something that we recognize again. And so we really need to be examining our lives, examining what it is we want, where it is that we're going. What is our Oz going to look like? What is our yellow brick road going to look like? That's really the journey. And if you remember, when Dorothy landed in Oz, she had been an insecure person, not feeling powerful at all when she was in Kansas. But all of a sudden, she lands in Oz, and the house, Auntie Em's house and Uncle Henry's house, lands on the Wicked Witch of the East and kills her. And all that is remaining of her is her lower legs showing with ruby red slippers on them. And suddenly, Dorothy is a heroine. The little munchkins are dancing around and they're singing and they're celebrating. They're celebrating that the Wicked Witch is dead. And Dorothy, all of a sudden, is a heroine. She's not this person without power any longer. She's this person who suddenly has all of this newfound confidence. She's not sure where she's going. She needs advice. And as she's needing that advice, all of a sudden she sees this beautiful luminous bubble coming toward her. And that luminous bubble, of course, becomes Glinda, the good witch Glinda. And it's Glinda who has the advice that Dorothy needs. It's Glinda who gives her the feeling of safety. It's Glinda who magically removes the red slippers, the ruby red slippers, from the Wicked Witch's feet and puts them on Dorothy's feet. And as I said last week, to me, those ruby red slippers signify faith. We can have faith all the time, or we can lose our faith. And sometimes when we're in the midst of survival mode, in the midst of worrying about our lives, our faith gets diminished because we wonder if things are ever going to get better for us, and we worry. I often say, why worry when you, or why pray when you can worry? It's kind of a humorous way of looking at things. We forget to pray. We forget about that inner journey. But here Dorothy is in Oz, and Glinda is reassuring her that she is going to be okay. Now, what's really interesting is Dorothy has left Kansas. She's left that behind. She's over the rainbow. She's in Oz. But what she really wants is to go home. And as I said last week, home really is that spiritual place within, if we're looking at this metaphysically. But she tells Glinda that she wants to go home. And Glinda says to her something that is really important for us to remember. She says, you can't go back the way that you came. Now think about that for a moment. If we can't go back the way that we came, it means that we have to set out on a new journey, on a new adventure. Going back the way we came would mean the same old, same old. We would be looking at everything that was familiar along the way. Our lives would look exactly the same. And it's really a tempting thing to do, to retrace our steps, to go back to the familiar place. Because when it's familiar, we know what to expect. Even if we don't like it, even if we're not comfortable there, it's a known factor. And we know what to expect when we wake up every morning. If instead somebody says, well, you've got to follow the yellow brick road, we don't know what's down that road. And so the temptation is to be in that other place where even if we didn't like it so much, we felt more secure because of the familiar. And I was thinking about what Abraham Maslow wrote so many years ago now. When he had the pyramid where he said, that basically we need to have all of our needs met. We need to have water and food and shelter and air to breathe and clothing. We need all of those creature comforts before we can move into a place where we start to want to be valued for what we do in our lives. And when we move into a place where we are valued, we gain that confidence to go forward, and we start doing good works. And then we move into a place of self-actualization, and that's the place where we move into our spiritual selves, where we remember who we really are, that we're spirit having a human experience. Now, he uses those 3 steps, and I would argue that we have to take them in that order, because there are all kinds of people who are without anything, or almost without anything. If we think of people in developing countries who don't have clean water, who don't have sufficient food, who don't have shelter, who don't have the creature comforts that we have, you still find people, hear stories about them, and they believe in a higher power, and they do good things for one another. I have been in developing countries, in places where people have so little, and yet they will give everything they have to share with me, to share with the other people around them. It's such a touching experience, and I think that is about being really, really close to the divine, when we can be like that. But still, there is this path. There's this path that we're on, this journey that we're on. And as Glinda talks to Dorothy and tells her that she has to take this new journey, what happens as we accept this journey, as we accept that there is another path, that there's a path where we can self-actualize, a path where we can start doing good for other people, where we can start making our lives more meaningful. Inevitably, there are those who step up along the way to help us. It might be a mentor, or it could just be that as we're going along, we notice that things are getting better and better in our lives, and we take those things as signposts in our lives. Oh, that must be a sign. It's a sign that I'm on the right track here. And as we do that, we come more in touch with our intuition. That's when we start using our intuition more fully. And in order to do that, we have to really understand what that's about. Um, how often do we say, oh, I have a hunch, or I was thinking I should have done that. If only I had done that, my life would have been a lot better. But that intuition is always there. It's always there in us. Plotinus said that our knowledge, our total knowledge, is made up of science and opinions and intuition. And Ernest Holmes said that intuition is basically our spiritual self. Think about that. Intuition is our spiritual self. And I know that the more we pray, the more that we meditate, the stronger our intuition becomes. We start really, really understanding where we're going and what it is we're doing, and we're getting divine messages along the way. And those messages are coming from our intuition, and it's so powerful. And it's really important that we remember that when we take the time to commune with Spirit, that we are strengthening that, we're growing it. We're creating a path, a journey that is going to be an exciting adventure, and it's going to be a transformational journey. We're not just going to go back following the same old path again. We're not going back the way that we came, the way that we got here. We're taking that new journey. We're following the yellow brick road, and we know that we're going to be meeting helpmates along the way, because that's just the way that it works. And so, Dorothy is setting out on her journey, and with this newfound confidence, this newfound faith, those ruby red slippers are not going to come off her feet. Glenda says, wear them tightly. Keep them tight on your feet. Let us hold tightly to our faith. Let us hold tightly to God at this time. It's so important that we do that. Let us know that we can trust that intuition, but let us refine that intuition. Let us refine it by talking to God and by listening to God, talking to God with prayer and listening to God with meditation. We can't say we don't have the time to do it, because we certainly do have the time right now. And what a good time to start creating a new normal for ourselves. Let's face it, everything about that old normal wasn't so perfect. There were all kinds of things that we could be critical of in our lives and in the lives that people are living around us, looking at global issues, looking at ways that we were perhaps so wrapped up just in ourselves that we weren't thinking so much about others. And now every day I'm hearing about absolutely wonderful acts of kindness, which I will get into in the future when I start talking about the Tin Man who wanted to have the heart. Because I'm going to be exploring the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Lion as I go forward in the weeks ahead. So how do we hook in with that power? How do we get to the Emerald City that, where Dorothy is going? How do we get to that place where we're looking for God and we want to be connected to God, and we know that that is our journey home. That's our journey to Spirit. That's our journey to our authentic selves. It's so important that we're spending time with this. And there's a wonderful book that's written by a minister whose name is Deborah Johnson. She channeled this book, and it's called The Sacred Yes, and I absolutely love it. And there's a place in that book where she said, what we need to do, and this is so important to really consider, think about what that's going to look like for you. What we really need to do is to fall in love with God, to take God as a lover. Now, we don't tend to think of falling in love with God or taking God as a lover, but think about it. Remember a time when you first fell in love, or any time when you were in love, and what that felt like. The excitement around that, the passion, the wanting to be with that other person. How, if you were at work, you wanted to pick up the phone several times a day and just phone that person and say, guess what just happened? Or I'm thinking about this, or what are you doing? What are you doing for lunch today? What are you doing tonight? Today in this time that we're living, this probably would mean texting every hour or so. whether or not it's allowed on the job, it's the kind of thing that we would be wanting to do, to just stay connected all the time to that person that we love. And to run to them with our good news, and to be there with our news that isn't so good, to be there for comfort, to be there to just feel loved and cherished in every way. Think about that. Think about it when something is going really well in your life, about going to God and saying, thank you. I'm so grateful for this. Thank you for all of the blessings in my life. Thank you for continued blessings in my life. Thank you for always being there with me. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your compassion. Thank you for all the amazing things that I have happening in my life right now. Running to God with gratitude. And when things aren't going so well, going to God and saying, I know you're there. I know you're there for me. I know that you're part of me. You're all of me. I'm part of you. Each one of us is part of the divine. Each one of us is part of spirit. We are spirit having a human experience. And so the all of God that is everything and everyone. And we are part of it. And so let us know that we are constantly supported by this divine givingness of the universe, by this divine love. And let us realize that we just need to run toward God with everything, with our joy, with our delight, with our sadness, with our problems, because this spirit, this intuition that is inside each one of us, is going to tell us exactly what to do. It's going to give us the courage, the heart, the brains to go down that yellow brick road, to go down the golden path of enlightenment. So tune in the next couple of weeks for more of this. And thank you for being with me today. Bless you. And just know that you're in my prayers, as the entire world is in my prayers now every day. We've been through enough. Thank you very much. Let's be free from wildfires this year. Let's be free from further flooding. Let us just see the dawn of a new day, of a new life for all humanity. Let us see a ceasefire around the world. Let us see peace. Let us really understand that. And the way that we do that is by holding this in our minds, by holding this in our vision. So I invite you to do that now and in the weeks ahead and throughout your lives. Today, right in this moment, we are creating what's going to happen next. Let's ensure that it is good. Let's ensure that the yellow brick road for us is a happy, happy journey. And so it is. And I'd like to invite you to join in donating to us at this time. If you're watching us on our website, you can click the donate button and through PayPal can make a donation to our center today. Or you can send a donation through welcome@cslvictoria.org. And you can send an e-transfer that way. Or alternatively, you can send a check to our mailing address. And if you're on our website, you'll see the mailing address there. If you're watching us on Facebook today, go to our website at cslvictoria.org. And you'll find the information that you need there. Thank you for being with us. God bless you all. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And I really, really look forward to the time when we can all be together again in physical form. We may be wearing masks, I don't know, but we can bump elbows and we can smile at one another and we can rejoice. Just like the Munchkins did, we can celebrate the landing in our over the rainbow place where our world is working better for us again. God bless you, and I'll see you soon. And so it is.